in the session here, and I guess do we want to stand and do the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we want to say a prayer too? I have that. Do we, because we want to open our meeting again.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's pray. Heavenly Father, we praise your name, Lord. We thank you for this day and all of our blessings. Thank you for all the things that you've done for us, and I just lift up all the people that are here today, and bless this room, bless this place, bless these people. Give us the knowledge and the grace that we need to make the decisions that are good for the taxpayers of Scott County. And we thank you for all these things and pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
All right.
What?
Will you call council to order, please?
We're gonna do them both at the same time?
Well, no, you need to call council to order too. He called commissioners, but you have to call council to order. Because this is joint meetings, so you've got to call council to order.
Okay, we'll start our meeting with the council and the commissioners.
Now I've got everybody.
6, Ab is not here.
There you go.
All right, first thing on the agenda today is an extension of the 2021 COVID-19 sick leave policy. As a commissioner, I'd like to say that in January, we extended that to July. And actually, I think it runs out at the end of this month, I
It
believe.
ran out June 30th.
All right, ran out at the end of June, 1st of July. So I would entertain a motion to extend that to January 1 of 2022. So, or actually, I guess December the 31st of 2021. And what that is that if a county employee, and this is, we changed it a little bit. It used to be family members or, you know, husbands, wives or whatever, but it is strictly the employee. The employee, if the employee is sick, then the employee wants to stay home or needs to stay home, we will pay them for the 2-week pay period. It's not if a family member's sick and you're quarantined or whatever, it's you being the person that's sick. So I'd entertain a motion from the commissioners to extend that to the end of the year.
Is it just for COVID only?
That's correct.
I'll second that, or make a motion.
Yeah, I'll second that.
I'll make that unanimous. So I guess now I'm going to present it to the council for their approval. So
Move to approve.
I second. Who moved to approve? Was it?
Eric?
He moved.
And I second it.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No. 6-0.
Okay. Second thing on, and the reason we're all here is the American Rescue Funds planning. I know these meetings are happening around the county or around the state in every county, trying to get some information on what you can spend this money on. I will tell people that the money's already in our bank account, $2.3 million, but it hasn't been spent. It's sitting on a line item, and again, that money cannot be spent without the approval of the commissioners. So it's not that it's just sitting there and can be pulled out to do whatever. But this meeting is just to.
Then the council has to appropriate.
That's correct. Whatever I guess we determine is going to be what we spend the money on will be approved by the commissioners and then sent to the council for their approval or to appropriate the money. So there you go.
Mike?
Yes.
Just for clarification, it's the 2.3 million now in the account. When is the other?
Next year.
Next year. Just for clarification in case
Yeah.
anybody wants.
Yeah,
Next year.
Next year, the second half will come, and I'd say it'd come probably in the same time period as the first one came, but we don't know that yet. I will say, I was in a meeting in Indianapolis, 3 or 4 weeks ago. I know, Tammy's been in a meeting, I think the council actually had meetings as well, around the state, trying to, I guess, alleviate a lot of questions from people about what it can be spent on, how it can be spent. It's a little different than the CARES money, CARES Act money. And actually I read 17 pages from the U.S. Treasury this morning trying to determine some more information, and it's kind of a bunch of garbled stuff. So it is, this money will be audited. I mean, every meeting I've been in, they all say, you're gonna get audited. You know, there's 92 counties in Indiana, somebody's gonna get audited. I mean, I would love for that, either this money or the money coming next year, to do what they did with the CARES Act money and kind of alleviate some of the burden on the counties to try to determine how they can spend the money, because it's muddy waters. I'll just put it that way. But I will say this, and then I'll shut up and let anybody else talk. But I do know other counties have formed committees, and they're committees that don't include the commissioners and don't include the council, and they're business people within the community or leaders within the community. And those people are taking, I guess, the input from people like, I'm gonna throw some stuff out there, because some of the items that you can spend this money on are infrastructure stuff like broadband and water supplies and sewer districts. Those people would take some of those that input from some of those places and determine whether it's a good place to spend money or not a good place to spend money, and they'd report back to the commissioners and to the council. So just throw that out there. So I'll leave it open for anybody else who wants to have a discussion.
Do we or can we set some kind of procedure in place where there's an application, they have to come with certain, to it, whether it's to the commissioners or to a committee, they have certain reports, information, application that they have to show up with, a checklist essentially. I mean, everybody else has checklists for this thing, then I think the people that are asking for money needs a checklist as well, so that we all have the same information. It's not, stuff isn't left out. Have you guys thought about that from the commissioner standpoint as a policy for this money?
Well, like I said, I'll speak now with the other two, but it is going to be difficult, I think, to try to find some places to spend this money. I mean, and to be within their guidelines. And that's why I said I hope they kind of loosen the rein a little bit and allow people to spend money in areas that benefit that community, because it's supposed to be for communities to move forward and to do stuff, you know, differently. I mean, I can see, one of my things that I've been talking about is 911. A complete revamp of the system over there, and I'm talking from the panels to the radios to everything, because when John and Lisa started that thing a long time ago, it was state of the art. Well, state of the art's come and gone, and we're behind times now, and that's a big ticket item. I mean, it's going to be a big ticket item, but also that's the communication center for the whole county. So that's one place I'd like to see some money, and I've been told through Jeff that, and this again is, we've talked about how vendors like to tell you, oh yeah, you can use our product and it's approved through this ARP money. Well, I don't know that to be a fact. I mean, I know there's a line in there about communications, but in the meeting I had, they said make sure you can draw a line from your project to one of these things, and don't get a dotted line, because you don't know if you're going to be flipping the bill yourself or not.
Well, and that's why I think that as both groups, council and commissioners, we need to come up with a cohesive application process, so that we just don't have ideas flowing from everywhere.
Yeah.
We need solid information put in front of us so that we know that what we're spending is going to benefit the county, is going to benefit the citizens, and we're not just.
Well, it's just like,
Well, you can't just give this away.
No,
This
no,
is-
I know, but
this
as
is-
long, but so everybody has the same information, is what
Yeah.
I'm saying.
Well, it's just
So we
like-
have an application process.
just like one of the items is broadband, and I guess I'm still mystified, I guess, that we have areas in Scott County that people don't have access to broadband. As small as Scott County is, we still have areas that people are on hotspots and running off their phone for their kids to do their homework at night, and especially last year with COVID. These people are in situations where, you know, they're paying, if anybody's ever had a hotspot, I mean, that's high dollar, you know, to even get on the internet. And I'd love to see, I think in Jackson County RMC, when they're coming in now on the backside of Hardy Lake and stuff, they're bringing high fiber optic and high. I know the city's got their stuff and they're running fiber optic as well, but I'd like to see what it would take on that part to see if we can make sure they blanket the whole county so everybody has access to that.
I totally agree, and in today's business world, if we are going to attract business to this community, which is going to bring in more jobs, higher paying jobs, people that are going to be working from home, that's just like water and sewer. Broadband, and that is a necessity in today's world. And if we are going to compete, if you take a look at our surrounding counties, if we are going to compete with other counties, we need that. It is a necessity for our community.
Well, also,
Just my opinion.
Also with that is COVID's, I would hate to own office space in major cities anymore because COVID's done nothing but show people that they can work from home. And office space is going to be readily available anywhere because there's going to be more people working from home. But with that, most of the time when people are moving here and stuff, that's one of the questions they're asking.
Yeah.
Do you have high-speed internet? You know, do I have access to it?
And I'm assuming, I know we're getting another 2.3 next year, do we got a deadline to spend this?
2024.
Yeah, 2024.
I mean, both of them together.
Yeah, I think so.
We don't have to spend everything today.
No,
For the end of the year.
the training I went to, they said, hold on to it as long as you can, really.
Okay.
It has to
But
be
you
that.
have to have a plan.
Yeah, I agree.
You guys have to have a plan written and set in motion, but we can always amend it.
And you mentioned
And
that to me
edit
the
it.
other day, and I'm with you, I just wanted to make sure we didn't
But we
have
have to have some
use
projects.
it or lose it within a year or something.
No,
No.
it's 2024, but you still, if you don't spend it by that time or have projects that you can do it, you lose it, it goes back.
Madam Chair, I would suggest that there's 4 major categories that they have aligned these potential planning guidelines in. As a group, I think if I were you all, I would prioritize them A, B, C, D. You shift them how you need to look at these. And I would say you methodically attack each line in order of priority. Spend, we know we're gonna get more money into in a year. And spend what you want to down in each category, divide them what percentage you want to. You may have 25, 25, 25, 25, you may have 50, 25, 25, and nothing, depending on which categories that you look at. So I think that would help you in the planning process if you would look at the categories, you all come to a consensus on which category has the most weight, and put those in there, and then start looking at plans, projects within that category that would be, we're gonna go back to broadband. We're not in the broadband utility, but if there is a qualified incentive or something that we could use our ARP monies for Jackson County or the city or whomever to prioritize their work or make them move faster because we've got kids sitting out here in rural areas. I'm one of those backside of Hardy Lake people. I'm tickled to death. I've got full fiber optic coverage and full up and down. Whatever I bought, that's full, whatever that was I bought, it's full up and down. So I never would have guessed that I would have had that kind of internet in 2020. Tickled to pieces, but I had a year now. So, but there's kids sitting out probably in low spots in Lexington. I was on a high spot on the backside of Hardy Lake and I couldn't get good internet. With Usenet or whatever, I could barely look online. And now my son can game and we can be on 3 or 4 devices at one time. So it's all good. So if there's any incentives that would qualify that would speed up this process for our citizens and our children, for their e-learning days and our work at home situation, I mean, that may be something this board's very interested in. But I think if I were looking at this and just breaking it down, that's what I would do. I'd look at the 4 categories you've got to work with now and pick out how much weight each one of them and prioritize them and move from there. That's just my suggestion.
Well, as far as dates are concerned, I'm just looking at this document here, but I've not seen it until this morning, but there's 4 dates on there. July 16th, that's already passed. First interim report due to Treasury, August 31st, that's coming up.
Very
fairly soon.
fast, very, very fast.
There's another deadline, first quarterly project and expenditure report due Treasury, October 31st. So that's not too far away. And then there's another, let's see, that's a $250,000, or $250,000 population counties, and so that one doesn't apply to us. So we've got some dates, deadline dates that we need to look at too, and that, it looks like we can't stand around or sit around and twiddle our thumbs. It looks like we need to get moving, and
Since
maybe we
you're-
need a committee. I don't know, but we need to move.
As Rachel said, you have to have your plan and your course of spending outlined for all of the funds by 2024. The
would
actual
have to be
completion
added,
of those
yeah, they have to be
projects, you've got
spent.
2 more years. You have to have,
2026, it has to be gone.
it has to be gone by the end of 26.
Yep.
So,
But I do know one thing we talked about, and we can use this money for that, is there is a project with the regional development, regional RDA, for a major Scott County project that Rachel is the chair of. And if we get that particular grant, which is up to $50 million to spend in the county, we could use our portion, because that's a 60-40 or 60-20-20. We have to come up 20% of it. So I mean, we could. The federal government did say that we could utilize some of this money for that, our 20% of that. But also, found out later that you can also use property value to be your 20% as well. So,
In kind.
Yeah. So
So
anyway.
let me make sure I'm understanding. So if we had property and that regional development project, we would use that, if we wanted it in our county, we could use our county property. I'm just trying to understand what you're saying.
As
As-
collateral,
As our collateral.
As part of that, yeah.
as our match to the 20%.
And this is I believe this is the only grant that they said this could be used for.
Can
as
go with the
match.
ARP money.
Yeah,
Yes.
this is the only grant.
So
that's-
So it's a sports complex entertaining trails, land acquisition, and development with a water park. So it's more quality of place to bring people in and for us and our kids and everybody to have, because everybody says there's nothing to do around here. So if we bring stuff in where people can have tournaments, they can have, the sports teams can have tournaments, we can have more fun stuff to do for our kids.
which will bring
And then
more
it's gonna bring
into
people from other
hotels.
regions here, and then it's gonna bring also for like Washington County and Clark County, the people that are in our RDA regional split, then it's gonna bring people to them as well. It's gonna benefit all of our region. So that's what the Ready Grant is gonna help us do. Our project, I didn't think there was any need to really hit the application at first until they said that ARP money would be able to be used. So then I got a little more excited and I told Jamie and Melissa, I'm like, yeah, I'm in, let's really work on this. because we have some money to use. So I think that would be a great choice to be able to use some of this money on. And that would be one project that's gonna benefit everyone. The kids, us, other people outside, it's gonna bring money in, it's gonna make our revenue look better. I mean, it's just a win-win for everybody. So that project would be top on my list to entertain.
But also to clarify that, we have not received that grant. We could be turned down for that and not be in the running for anything. But you're right, that we could use that money in that project.
But the project will be written up, so we'll
Oh, yeah.
always have the plans for it.
Yeah.
So if we needed to knock a few things off of it, we're gonna get the grant. But if we don't,
Yeah.
then we could knock a few things off of it and start smaller than what our big vision is.
Yeah.
And we can start with the first phase.
But like I said, the one thing I looked at and I'd have to get more clarification that we can do it is 911. And quite honestly, it might be a situation where, that whole thing gets revamped because Verizon's putting a tower behind the old John Jones building and they're leasing a spot for us, to put that there. And at that point, I mean, a capital project could be moving 911 out of here and putting them out there and using the tower because Verizon gave us approval to put our stuff on their towers, so that would be a higher point for the radio systems.
Mike, do you have any kind of, and I know it would be a guesstimate, but any kind of figures?
Oh, it's a big ticket item. It's gonna be, it's gonna be $250,000 to $500,000 probably, if not more.
To revamp?
Yes. And actually, didn't Jeff come to our meeting and talk about that CAD system? It could be $700,000 or $800,000 for this CAD system.
I'm with you on this one, by the way. I'd like to see them build up. I haven't studied this enough to know if it's even allowable to use in here.
Yes.
But you're right, it's antiquated over there, and I still think they run awful well.
Oh, they run well for what they got.
But, in today's world, we gotta move it up. And it'd be
Well-
nice to use some of this other money if we can do it, otherwise, we gotta find somewhere.
Yeah, we gotta find
Break it down one of these days, and then it's a serious issue.
Are you guys thinking, well, all of us, are we thinking parcel the money out in smaller pieces to more entities? Or do big, like you say, big ticket, do big ticket things about 2 or 3 of those? Because if you do big ticket things, 2 million, 4 million, that's not gonna go very far. I mean, as far as spread,
No.
but you can do a couple of good things with that money. So I don't know, it doesn't really matter to me. I mean, as long as it's a good, thing, I could spend it on one thing or I could spend it on.
Well, it's all
Several.
in the talk stage, I mean, Mike and I, emergency service especially, we want to see that place run well. But I do think she had an awful good point. We ought to take the 4 things and start prioritizing before we start making decisions. And, what something today might look awful well, after we get some people together and study it, it may change. So that's why I was asking about deadlines. And Raymond brought up some deadlines we gotta meet. I'm like, go slow. I think it was you said that, go slow. I don't think we ought to go too fast and
I mean,
vote
we
because of something,
we need to plan it and we need to
Yeah.
send them something, like Mike said, so we don't lose it, but we can
Yeah.
always change our plan.
That's
Yeah.
right, that's right.
So
I was gonna
what
say.
if we took those 4 areas and we created a committee for each one of those areas and invite people from the community? I mean, this is just a suggestion, but invite people from the community that would be related to that. So whether it's 911, emergency services, that kind of thing. Invite and form a committee for health, safety, something like that. And then for each one of those, invite community members to be a part of that. They can do some research and then report back to us as a whole. Does that make sense? I mean, just a suggestion.
Well, one other big ticket item, and this is going to be something that in the last year, I've been trying to find out more information on, is the regional sewer district. The county supposedly has a committee that is on the regional sewer district board. I guess there's a board, but that.
I haven't seen us elect anybody for it.
Oh, I know.
We have to
haven't either.
reappoint them, they haven't been reappointed properly.
I mean, well, I know somebody died and they they appointed somebody, but that
Yeah, they-
board's never came in front of the commissioners and have never, I mean, I don't know who spends their money or how they spend it or even the plan for future, because I know Lexington has one, Bernie Edition has one, Hosey Edition has one, but, we just need to know if we need to, you know, if we're gonna, you know, build Scott County, we need to have the infrastructure. We need to have sewers and I think Stucker Fork does a heck of a job with the water. I mean, you know, but, you know. go
I would
ahead,
like
John.
to suggest the regional sewer development has their own attorney. And I would like our attorney to get with their attorney and make
Yeah.
get these boards all appointed properly, get us all
Well,
legal.
they-
And they should be reporting to us too.
They should be, their money
And-
is
and they
taxpayers' money.
Really never have.
Well, ask
From the
them to.
beginning. Huh?
Ask them to.
Well, that's what I'm asking right now. is
Yeah.
We should ask our attorney to get with their
They
attorney
need to, yeah.
and get us caught up where we ought to be, because we're gonna talk in circles here if we're not careful.
That's true.
And
But that's.
they
that's-
can get us on board.
But that's a one-ticket item that's out there too, that, you know, do we know if those facilities are up to par, or do they need to be, you know, resurfaced? They need some attention. I mean, that's never a not big ticket item, so. Guys, I'm gonna have to leave here, so I mean, I'll watch the meeting on the rest of it and see what you guys come up with, but,
And
uh,
I just want to interject here too. I think now that you guys have come together as a board, because I'll be the reporting agent for you guys and your activities. Now that you've come together to kind of say, okay, then I think the next phase is the three commissioners have a meeting to establish what you think are your priorities for those four, because they're gonna fund based on what you have to present and your proof as to why this is a good project. And so, and another thing I want to suggest while Mike is still here, is that it is a covered expense, and I know it sounds like I'm pushing the vendors, but due to continuity of operations, I feel like one of my suggestions is that you look at a financial servicing group, such as like Baker Tilly. They're one of our preferred vendors here at the county. They do a lot of financial analysis, they're familiar with our funds already, they help with the TIF board activities. For a nominal cost, they will be able to make sure, and I think it's a good backup plan for you guys to prove if we're ever audited, that you had a consultant on hand, just like you take your taxes to a CPA and have them sign off on them. That's another good proof as to why you thought that was a valid expense, because we don't wanna have to give this money back.
yeah.
So I would. and it's-
One other thing I would
yeah.
like to say before I get up is that, I know this is the first meeting, I'd like to have another joint session prior to the commissioners ever making another comment, so, so maybe in the next, you know, before our next, not our next meeting next week, but like in August, first meeting in August, I'd like to have a joint session, and maybe we can, everybody pick their brains and talk to other people and come up with some other plans, so.
Specifically about.
Yes,
And I know that there's one for the fiscal recovery funds, the fair board, the fairgrounds. I
Yeah.
know that they're interested, and I think that they're well deserved to at least explore.
Because there are
Doing-
other pots of money
yeah.
out there.
Well, actually,
So if it doesn't qualify for this,
Well,
Yeah.
that's what we learned at
Yeah.
that training.
Yeah, they're gonna roll in some grants
Yeah.
that's not even officially or with this program.
So I just want to make sure that they're
Anyway.
not left out. Have a good word.
See you guys.
Don't forget the county
Are
museum.
you guys adjourned?
Yeah, the museum as well.
Are you all adjourned?
No,
No,
he's
he's
just,
gotta go.
I've gotta go.
He's got a vacation.
one thing I would like to mention, I know that, you know, this is, everybody's got a plan for, you know, in the back of their mind where they think the money should be spent, but there's one thing that I think we all should think about. And that's gonna be, equipment for the county highway, that can be shared with the drainage board. And the reason I say that is for an example, right now, you know, Main Street, we've got it shut down because the water shot out around all the logs that we couldn't normally get to because we'd have nothing to reach the logs to get them out with. And I've been talking with Everett Hundley, and we have to keep our rivers and tributaries clean. Because if you don't, Scott County cannot grow, period. You have to get rid of the water before you can start building sewer systems of any type, either home, or, city sewers, anything like that. So we have to keep those rivers and tributaries clean. So there is a special equipment out there that actually takes care of that kind of stuff. And there's other places to get money. I know I was talking to Tammy here about that. But I know that the COVID money could go directly toward that, because some of it, because people wasn't traveling, they wasn't going anywhere, so there was less fuel tax.
We can't show it as a department though, so that
You might
doesn't
not
show
be
a
able to.
loss.
That's why I said we might have to use something else, I don't know, but I'm just throwing it out there. We need to keep it in the back of our minds. If we don't keep these rivers clean, we're gonna be in a mess, because we have to get rid of the water that keeps coming every spring, and we gotta get it out of here quick as possible. It's a safety issue.
And I don't think the money's in the bank yet, but it's on the way. The county has got a $40,000 layer grant to clean Muscatattack and Stucker.
Yes.
And as a matter of fact, I think you guys are already in the process of getting the right of ways to go on people's property to clear all this out. And our problem's always that other counties get stopped up. And we clear all we want, but if they're stopped up, we still get backed up.
Right.
That's
So,
my
but
thought.
there's a
If you
40
don't clean it up downstream.
Yeah, and
Hey, I
Jackson
got the
County is
floor.
finally helping us for the first
Just
time.
a joke, I wasn't trying to get on. I'm sorry, Raymond, I was joking with you.
Not a problem. Excuse me.
But they should get quite a bit cleaned up, and it should be as soon as some of this rainy season's over, whenever that starts. But my estimate, and talking to Everett, we're probably talking doing this every, who knows, every 5-10 years, have to clean all this out just to keep the river flowing. And I'm always getting complaints on Boatman, and I know everybody does, but this is about the best alternative we got to open it up, because I got a feeling it'd take millions to really fix that road. And we haven't got the money. So the best we can do is keep the river flowing, to keep the water down the best we can, clean the ditches and shut it off when we have these problems for public safety.
Yeah.
So there is some money coming in. But, and what he's talking about, doing something we can work on it regularly if we need to.
Yeah, because honestly, I think it's probably more along the lines of probably every year. Because you're always gonna have dead trees getting into the river, and they're gonna make their way to the bridges.
Yeah.
Sorry, John.
No, I'm just giving you a hard time, Raymond.
No.
But no, Raymond, and you was right, just for the record, I should have said something, but Jackson County, I believe we've never had help from Jackson County before.
That's right.
And for the first time, we are.
Yeah.
They stepped up and said, we're gonna help you. So,
That'd be downstream.
yeah, which is what will directly affect us.
Yeah, because it goes down and builds up back our way.
In regards to the different pots of money, the fiscal recovery funds, infrastructure, public safety, one thing that can happen is we get a 2019 base and we compare 2020's revenues to 2019. We could see a potential, and it has to be the end figure. It's not we lost in the SRO budget, or we lost in the lit, or we lost in something like that. I think 19 is going to be their basis, so you'll compare 20 to 19, 21 to 19, because you've got to have something pre-pandemic to really determine if you've lost revenue or not. So those funds that you recover as a governmental unit is in your list of 4 things that you can do, and it's loss recovery. So if we just do discover that 20 is negative compared to 19, we could take those funds and actually consider what can be done with those funds. So then there's also the other categories that you've got, but you do have some leeway with the funds that you use for loss recovery. But again, 21, I see being a more significant loss than 20.
So are you saying if we say we lost $20,000 total, we pay ourselves back, we can do what we want with those monies then?
Yeah.
Is that?
Yeah, you
for
have to take
sure?
it from the main fund,
Right.
recover your fund that had the loss. So we would put it, whichever fund in our general account, you put it back in there, and then you can spend it from general, however you need to.
We put it
For
in
sure.
the general fund.
You sure your accounts, that's what they had at training the other day. You sure your accounts first, and then you can move
I know, but she
it.
said that the way that you put it, it wasn't for sure that we could spend it, that there was a little bit of leeway. That's,
In what they gave us through this, what I went to Tuesday, and again, there's a lot of people looking at this, so how they may put it and phrase it may be a little bit different than another group, but it said, if you have revenue loss, assumes that revenue reductions are related, so they just work on that basic assumption that if you've lost money, it's because of COVID. They can't prove it exactly, but that's just what they're gonna work on. Compared to actual revenue earned during the 12-month periods ending December 2020 through December 2023. So then you use those periods. Allowed usage of funds received via revenue reduction must be used to provide government services, such as maintaining or building new infrastructure, cybersecurity, health, public safety, and other upgrades.
okay,
So that is pretty broad.
okay.
So I think, like Rachel said, we could prove we did have a loss, then you guys could appropriate.
I just wanted to make sure
Yes.
that the
According.
parameters were
Right.
not limiting us to certain things before we pay ourselves back,
Yeah,
so.
and it sounds pretty broad, because
Okay.
everything we do
I just
pretty
wanted
much
to-
in government is
I just
either
wanted
about
to
public
clarify,
safety.
I just
or-
wanted clarification.
Okay, so question on that. So if we pay, or if we've had a loss, we pay that back to ourselves. Now, in the audit, it would show, if we, because they're gonna audit these funds. In the audit, it would say that we had a loss of so many $1,000. We appropriated X amount of dollars to pay the county government back for that. Then we wouldn't have to be audited on then how we spent it, just where it was put in to reimburse the cost,
We
right?
will always be audited on
Well,
how
I
we
know,
spend
but I mean-
anything, but like Rachel and I talked yesterday evening, there is a loss calculator. We have to plug in some numbers, and so I'm not for, I haven't even looked at it in depth, but it's kind of complicated.
We're not gonna make it,
Yeah.
so we won't have to worry about it.
Yeah, so I think we're just, at least at this point in time, our county actually during COVID fared quite well compared to a lot of other regions, so.
But the drainage board actually does have the authority to keep us from building any more places in Scott
they
County,
do.
just so you guys know.
And they've
So
actually,
that's why
Yeah.
it's a direct effect of how Scott County grows.
Okay, so I'd say that we try to focus on a few projects that are gonna bring money back into Scott County, instead of just working on like broadband and even sewer. That would bring more money in because people are gonna be paying their bill. If they have better sewage, better utilities, they're gonna pay more. The sports complex is gonna bring money in. Fair board, bring money in. You know, if we help them redo the stands and the, yeah, the
Bathrooms and
the bathrooms, the dang things you hear out of the speakers, the speaker system, the sound system. If we help them do that, then we can have more events at the fair. I'm thinking projects that are gonna bring more money back to us, so then we can have more money to do more projects.
Well, tourism is
It's
your
a-
purest form of economic development. It brings in people, it brings in money that's outside the community in here. If we've got a sports complex, you've got kids coming in, families, they're putting, in the hotels, they're eating restaurants, and a lot of people are like, well, it helps the restaurant. Yeah, but it helps that waitress that might not have been going to work that week. If you've got 2 or 3 different tournaments going on at once, your hotels are full, the restaurants, and they have to pull in more, hostesses and waitresses, and then they, and I know everybody hates that, but it does trickle down, it trickles into the community. And so the more things that we can bring in like that, there again, the broadband, you're not gonna bring in people to live here if they can't have internet connection. It's just like sewer and water. If we bring these different things in, like the sports complex, we upgrade our trail system, because quality of life, I worked for a real estate agent, quality of life is what people look for when they go to a community. Do they have good jobs? Do we have good infrastructure? Do they have things for the community and the kids and the families to do? So these are all things that are affected and are gonna bring more money into our community, more people, better jobs, and I think those, like Rachel said, I think we need to kind of concentrate on those things.
I agree with that because Scott County's gotta grow. You know,
Yes.
if you look at it as a business, if you ain't growing, you're going under.
Exactly.
And, but like I say, let's just not forget that we have to have equipment
Yes,
or
You do.
you have to keep
we
things up.
can't do nothing because that is our foundation and building block
Yes.
to bring anything else in.
We have to keep
And
things
build a
up.
little old pigeon roost up a little bit while we're doing that.
I still want that skate park.
I'm always bugging people about that. Go ahead.
But what I've learned from the drainage board is that Stucker Ditch drains 2/3 of this county.
Yes.
Yes.
So, and it
Yeah.
starts from a natural creek, it was partly man-made, so it doesn't totally qualify for some of the layer things because it's not 100% a natural waterway, so we have places to navigate even to try to get a grant with Stucker Ditch. But Stucker Ditch has silted in over the years, and we don't wanna use the term dredge because the state hates that, but it's gonna need a lot of attention in order to be able to keep the water flowing all the way from down in northern, or I guess the northern part of Lexington Township, all the way over to the Muscatatuck. So it is responsible for about 2/3 of the drainage in this county, and we don't all live on high ground.
And I think part of the Lair grant's gonna clear some of that, isn't it? My
The
understanding.
Muscatatuck
Talking to
part,
Everett,
but it
folks
did not
who
apply.
do
We
some
thought we could possibly get 80, but Stucker did not qualify because it's partially man-made.
And the
work.
reason,
Everett says, once this 40's done, he says he feels confident that the state will come up with more. But that's an
Maybe
if,
so.
you know how that is, that's an if.
Okay, second in charge, I'm going to ask for a motion to adjourn this meeting and have Tammy send an email so we can,
Before you adjourn, I just like to let everybody know that Pat Bridgewater was a councilman, I think, 8+ years, and he passed away this month. So I just want everybody to kind of remember his family in your prayers. Pat was a good man, and he's done a good job when he was council. Just like for you to remember. his
thank you,
family.
Donnie.
I appreciate that.
That was very nice.
Apparently he's been ill a while, and I wasn't aware of it much kept it quiet.
Had Pat been sick? I
He
didn't.
kind of kept it quiet, but he had been.
Madam Chairman, move to adjourn.
All right, Raymond
A second.
to adjourn. Lindy, all in favor?
Aye.
Commissioners had been.
yeah, John.
I'll adjourn whatever we want. I was looking at some other stuff here.
I'll second that motion.
Adjournment. Pass, whatever.
Don, motion to adjourn. Randy, second. All in favor? You guys both?
Yeah.
This is why we need prayers for meetings.
We got 2 meetings actually going at the same time. And now they've done it.
Okay,
It's over.
Did you guys have a
Thank you,
date that we wanted to look at? Was it August
well, their next meeting is the 4th, but let's do 3rd or 5th.
Take care.
Oh, you too.
Something else besides that Wednesday.
do you guys, can you be here at, so they meet at 5 on the 4th. You can't
That's
be
why
here
I
on
said
the
let's look
4th?
at the 3rd or the 5th.
Okay.
I would like to be in person.
Wait, hold on. I know. August the 4th?
That's out, I think, because Rachel said she couldn't be here on the 4th. Even though the commissioners meet that day, she's not here,
When does
so
school start? Does anyone know?
I have no idea when school starts.
Well, if we wanted to do it earlier that day,
Thank you.
long as I'm out of here by 4:30 at the latest.
Okay. Would you want it on the 4th?
I mean, we can, long as
Would you
it's,
want
long as
to do
it's
it?
not nighttime. I mean, I have to
Do you
leave
guys need
Scottsburg
an
by
hour?
4:30.
Do you guys need an hour, like 4 to 5, and the commissioners want a meeting at 5? But no, you can't be here
You
till
can't
after
be here
4:30.
after, yeah, she said she can't.
We can do earlier in the day, or we could come the day before, right? which I think did Mike kind of want to meet before they had commissioners
Yeah.
meeting?
He wants to meet before their
So we
meeting,
have to do it the 3rd then,
so we need to hash out sometime before
on
their
the
meeting.
3rd. August the 3rd so far?
I
Raymond?
probably won't be able to be here during the
3rd
day,
of
because I'm
August I
getting
can
ready to
do.
start a new job, and I'm gonna be in training for 4
Well,
weeks.
yeah, 3rd of August I
We
So
can.
I
can do
would be able-
I mean, we can do the evening on August the 3rd if that's bad, or
It
or
don't matter.
whatever. What time do you anticipate being available?
I'm looking at, well, they haven't told me for sure yet, but I think training's like 8 to 4, 8 to 4:30,
Okay.
and it's for 4 weeks.
Do we wanna cut the video off and start our meeting fresh?